I'm Karen Donfried with the German Marshall Fund, and I'm intrigued by this interesting and important question that ZEIT-Stiftung is posing about the global trends that will emerge from the COVID-19 crisis. I am most interested in the implications of this crisis for global order. And as I sit here in Washington, D.C., perhaps not surprisingly, I am particularly interested in the implications for the role of the United States. When I think about the role of the United States in a post-pandemic order, I am interested in how two big uncertainties will play out. The first uncertainty is indeed how we manage the pandemic. There are lots of smart people who are building different scenarios about how they believe the pandemic will play out. Those range from a scenario of a passing storm, which the argument there is pandemic does a lot of damage, but we recover pretty quickly. The storm passes, to scenarios that suggest the pandemic will be the equivalent of a global earthquake and will shake up the balance of power in our global system in fundamental ways. Now, my crystal ball is cloudy, and I'm not sure which of these scenarios is correct. But I do believe that this pandemic is having a profound impact on how we engage locally, but also how we engage internationally across all metrics. That uncertainty around the pandemic is working in conjunction with another major uncertainty. And that is the U.S. presidential election, which will take place this November. How we manage the pandemic here in the U.S., I do believe, will be a significant factor in the outcome of our presidential election. If Americans feel that they have been well served by President Trump, one would postulate that he will be reelected for a second term. And if Donald Trump serves a second term as U.S. president, I would expect to see an acceleration of the trends that we have become familiar with in this first Trump term. That would be an acceleration of America First, an acceleration in a policy that is focused on U.S. interests defined narrowly. So I would expect in a second Trump term an acceleration of these trends. If the American public feels they have not been well served by the Trump administration in this pandemic, not only in a public health sense, but in an economic sense and more broadly, then one could postulate that the Democratic challenger, Joe Biden, might win this U.S. presidential election. Joe Biden has been long engaged in politics here in the U.S. He was a longtime U.S. senator. He served as President Obama's vice president. So we have a very good sense of his policies. And if he were to be U.S. president, one would imagine a United States that embraces multilateral solutions to big challenges, whether that is a pandemic or whether we see it play out across any policy area from security challenges to trade issues. That would be a very different American role in the world. So for me, this question around the role of the United States in the post-pandemic order is key for my own country, but I also believe the implications of that are profound for U.S. allies, including, of course, in Europe. Thank you.